Hey everybody, guess what? I get an opening theme song! Yes! Is that the theme song from Portal Holocaust? What the f***? Today's subject, Guru Larry. Guru Larry represents everything I hate in doing these reviews. Well, except the sucking part. It's not that he's bad or anything, he's just a reviewer that I'm not really qualified to review. I'm not a fan of retro video game reviews. To me, it's a tired, overcrowded, and irrelevant subject. Although as more and more retro video games are becoming available on newer systems, that last complaint is in itself now becoming irrelevant. I don't want to take away from the fans of these games, but I'm just so sick of this style. But if you are a fan of retro video games, or retro video game reviewing in general, don't be offended. This is 100% personal bias. I mean, I really shouldn't even be reviewing this. I should just be avoiding the subject altogether. It's like Roger Ebert reviewing a slasher film, or Armand White reviewing anything good. These people don't obviously like those kinds of movies, so they should just stay away, and I should be staying away from Guru Larry and his kinds of reviewers. But I'm not. Why? My motivation is pure, uncorrupted greed. But those guys seriously shouldn't review those kinds of movies if they don't like them. That's just not cool, man. But I will try to be as objective as possible, and don't worry, Guru Larry fans, this is not a negative review or anything. Guru Larry is, if you haven't figured this out yet, then smack yourself now, a video game reviewer who's usually a voiceover critiquer. You rarely actually see the guy. He had appeared on British television shows, lucky bastard, but I'm going to focus on what's been released on That Guy with the Glasses. If you want to watch his videos, go to thatguywiththeglasses.com and check under Blistered Thumbs. You can find all his videos under Guru Larry and Wez. Or you can just check the links in my description. Whatever's easier. He's mainly known for the show Guru Larry's Retro Corner. Do I even need to clarify what games are being reviewed? If so, then smack yourself now. To his credit, at least retro games to him include Nintendo 64 games, so that's pretty cool. The focus is critiquing, well, I think. The reviews tend to be shorter than 5 minutes long, so there isn't much time to go deep into the game, but he does fit in a fair amount. He'll focus extensively on the game's context, which includes background and release information. He'll also touch on the story and quality of the game itself.
Power Punch 2. Originally titled Mike Tyson's Intergalactic Power Punch, the game starred everyone's favourite low-biting slugger, who's decided he's too tough for puny human opponents, and so sets off into space to fight aliens and cyborgs and stuff.
His goal seems to acknowledge the more unknown games, although he isn't exclusively positive about them. Once again, this is personal preference, but I wish there was more emphasis on the review itself. He says that a certain game is good, but I want to know more about why it's good. But the problem with reviewing his videos is that they don't have a direct system. Some might focus more on the review than the context. Others might be more humor-oriented. So breaking down his reviews is not easy. I will say this, he's a very knowledgeable gamer, and all his points seem like good ones.
Why the game was so heavily pounded by press at the time remains a mystery. It doesn't take long for the player to realise the game is little more than a tongue-in-cheek spoof of 80s horror movies. And anyone who could become offended by its dodgy acting qualities deserves to be caught in a poorly contrived trap by a bunch of vampire zombie ninja things themselves.
Plus, the pacing is good, so I consider this a modest success. Next is the humor. There isn't really a lot of humor, or maybe there is and it's just British humor, which is a classy way of saying no humor. Either way, I never roll around laughing. But he does have some nice wit, some good lines, and he delivers said lines well. And I think he's pretty funny overall.
Because this game wasn't officially developed by Nintendo themselves, it's often not regarded as a true title in the Zelda series by fans. So it's often regarded as a deformed half-brother that's kept locked under the stairs and fed a bucket of fish heads to every day.
It's a nice balance because the humor here isn't overstated. Once again, a modest success. Man, those arrows are getting uglier and uglier. Now for the technicals. The editing, video, and audio are all very crisp. No flashy production values, but none are needed. Well done. Then we have the character. First off, this guy has one of the coolest voices on the web, his only rival that I know of being the Cinema Snob. If I don't remember his videos, at least I'll remember his accent. There isn't much of a character here, but Larry himself does seem interesting. There just isn't a whole lot of time to flesh this out. So all in all, I consider Guru Larry's Retro Corner, as a person who doesn't like these kinds of reviews, to be a modest success. He brings up some good points, has some funny moments, reviews some obscure games, and has a cool voice. If you are a fan of retro gaming and aren't aware of the Guru, then this show is a must-see. But if you're not, I don't see the point. I'd give this show a 2.5 out of 4 stars, so for fans only. The next show is Guru Reviews, which has only 2 episodes and a crossover with Ashen's, so I might be prematurely reviewing this one. Anyway, it's the exact same style of reviewing as the Retro Corner, except it's more recent games. Because I think more gamers will relate to reviews of newer games more, I'll give this segment a 3 out of 4 stars. Finally, we've come to Guru Larry and Wez's top 10 lists.
Ladies and gentlemen, children of all ages, it's now time for Wez and Larry's Top 10 Wacky Japanese Games.
This time Larry teams up with Wez, his friend and coworker. They'll do some top 10 list revolving around something to do with video games. In my honest opinion, this is Guru Larry's best work. The focus this time is the humor, which I think is mostly very funny. The gags, the jokes, the lines, and the delivery of such lines from both men are great.
Oh, yeah, he's my hero!
Who's Sephiroth?
Hello, yes, it's me. I'm showing awe and awe of my magnificence, the Sephiroth. Whilst none of you are eligible to lick my boots, I'll train you all up to at least eligible to lick my sword clean.
Wow, isn't he amazing?
It's such a big sword!
I've seen bigger.
The only flaw is that some of the running gags within a review go on for too long, like when they're talking to a guest character. Then I think we have the technicals, once again very professional. This time there are some flashy effects, and they complement the humor nicely. The graphic work is very, very good. I was impressed. Next is the characters. Larry and Wez both have good chemistry, and I enjoyed their banter. They're both very interesting.
Despite all the great enemies that Nintendo have created over the years, there is one villain which everyone loves the most, including us.
So why is it at number 4 then?
Just get on with it.
Finally, the critiquing. There isn't much to be said here, as it's usually just there to amplify the humor, but their knowledge shows and I agreed with most of their points. They also do brief reviews of what made it into the list, which is pretty cool. My main problem is ultimately the length. These reviews can go up to 30 minutes long, which I just think is way too long. They do make jokes about the padding, which amusingly is just adding more padding, but for me it ends up making their lists, while enjoyable, a bit exhausting. I'd also give this a 3 out of 4 stars. Now for must-see reviews. Punch-Out 2 and Night Trap for Retro Corner, Metal Gear Solid Peace Walker for Guru Reviews, and the top 10 wacky Japanese games for, well, smack yourself again if you have to ask. So how should I rate them? Well, once again, consider all the individual ratings before the final one. All the ratings are ultimately pointless tools, but the final one is the most superfluous of them all. I'd still say he's a 3-star reviewer. I mean, he does very well with what he's going for. I mean, he reviews these games very professionally. So I'd say if you are a fan of what he's reviewing, you should give him a shot. But if not, I wouldn't say he's really worth it past that. My name is Marshall Horror. My motto is if you're going to have some neck diarrhea, then at least have the decency to wipe.